Today we've got a brand new projection that shows Biden on track for a narrow win in the Electoral College. He gets 287 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 251. So this projection is very detailed. It lets you look at all the margins in all the states, including third parties, even going all the way down to the county level. So there's a lot here to take a look at. Let's dive into it. Now this projection is from Stack Data Strategy. And like with any poll, any projection, any source, you've always got to take a look at as many as you can. This is not some final definitive prediction. This is just what their model happens to show right now if the election were today. And there's always going to be some accusations of bias in the data either way. The best we could do is take a look at whatever comes up over the next 6 months. First, we have just the head-to-head matchup with Biden and Trump. In this, Biden wins the popular vote. He gets 49.6 to Trump's 46.9. So that's a significant narrowing over 2020. And that's about a 4.1 million vote advantage for Biden in the popular vote. But as we know, everything comes down to the Electoral College. So if we look at that, what's different compared to 2020? Well, there's only one change, and that is Georgia. That flips from Biden to Trump. Every other state stays the same. Now, we can hover over any of these states to take a look at the margins, and there are some extremely narrow ones. First, in Arizona, they have that going to Biden by only 0.3%. Nevada goes a little bit more comfortably for Biden. That's almost a 4-point margin. If we go to the former blue wall in the Rust Belt, Wisconsin is again extremely close. Biden up by under 0.2%. Michigan, slightly wider. Biden is up by almost 1.5. In Pennsylvania, it's even narrower. It's under 0.1% for Biden. If we go to North Carolina, that one is going to Trump by about 3.5. And the other battleground of Georgia, Trump has that one, but it's by under 1%. How about some other states that are a little bit less competitive? Florida, that's expected to go red, but it's not a huge margin. It's still under 4 points for Trump. If we hop over to Texas, that's a much wider margin than Florida. Over a 6-point lead for Trump. Even redder states like Iowa are still under 10 points for Trump. It's the same in Ohio. It's under a 10-point margin, but it's close. And in New Hampshire, that is actually a closer margin than 2020. Biden is up there by about 4.5. What about the safe states like New York? Well, Trump gets about the same margin as he did in 2020. Biden goes down a couple of points. If we go all the way to the West Coast and look at California, Biden's support is down under 60, while Trump's has ticked up slightly. And you could do the same thing for all the rest of these states. There's a ton of data here. You could spend a while going through this. So in this projection, we've got a narrowing over 2020, but Biden's still clinging to victory in the Electoral College. Of course, he's only ahead by a hair in several states, but we could also do another projection and add in the third-party candidates. If we do that, we can see that the Electoral College margin stays exactly the same. And in the popular vote, Biden is still ahead by a similar 4.1 million votes. With the percentages, Trump does lose a little bit more than Biden does. But this time we've got Kennedy, Cornel West, the Libertarian Party, and the Green Party. And nationally in this, Kennedy is pulling in 6.5%, Cornel West under 0.9. And if we look at the swing states again, in Arizona, this time Biden is up over 47 while Trump is under 46. Nevada, Biden close to 48 while Trump is over 43. In Wisconsin, it's close, but it's not as much of a nail biter. Next door in Michigan, Biden's lead is about 2 points. In Pennsylvania, it is still extremely narrow. It's under a 0.5 point advantage still for Biden. And if we go back to Georgia, Trump's lead there expands to about 1.5. So pretty much in all these states, once you add in the third parties, whoever was already in the lead in the head-to-head matchup between Biden and Trump, their lead seems to expand just a little bit more. Pennsylvania, for whatever reason, seems to have the least impact, but that's if you buy Kennedy getting only 6.5% nationally. We still don't know what his ballot access is going to be. Same with Cornel West. And it is tough to gauge the Green Party and the Libertarians. But for me, the 6.5% for Kennedy seems to be more on the low end right now. I could easily see that being at least a few points higher. And if we go to states like Maine, that you might expect to have a higher third-party vote percentage, we see Kennedy is actually down there. He's under 4.5%. And the other candidate's way down under 1%. In that 6-way matchup, Biden still wins the state with close to a majority of support. Trump is almost 6.5 points lower. That is a state that has ranked choice voting, but it's a fairly independent state. It's hard for me to imagine Kennedy doing worse than many of the other states. Aside from Alaska, where it's just slightly higher, Kennedy's best state actually looks like it might be New Jersey. There, he's getting over 9.5% of the vote, according to this model. Up in Minnesota, it's still a comfortable win for Biden, as Kennedy is under 7%. And in Oregon, Kennedy is over 8, Cornel West over 1% here. But Biden still wins the state by 16. So without spending all day on this, where are the shifts to indicate where Biden and Trump have gained or lost any ground? Well, for that, we could go into the county level view. Now, you could do it for any of these states. For For this, let's pull in on Pennsylvania. Here we can get the extreme detail and look at all the popular vote and percentages for each individual county. So the map looks similar to what we would expect. The key bellwether county might be Erie. That's all the way up here in the Northwest. With third parties included, Biden gets this county by over 2 points, and the change from 2020 is Biden does 1 point better. Now the key stat here to focus on is going to be that change from 2020. If you go just south into these red counties, they're all going overwhelming for Trump, but the change from 2020 shows a shift toward Biden by anywhere from 1 to 5 points. So these counties are heavily rural and have a large white working class voting population. So it would seem like this model is projecting those demographics to move toward Biden by a few points. What about if we look at the blue counties? Let's go southeast to Philadelphia. Here, Biden gets it by a massive 56. However, the vote actually shifts here toward Trump by a significant 7 points. That's a lot of population moving toward Trump. If we look at suburban Philadelphia, in Delaware, the vote shifts toward Trump by 3. Chester gets redder by 1 point. Montgomery redder by 2 points. And Bucks County has no change. So this looks like they're following a similar pattern from 2020. Places that actually have less of voters that are white working class, but in exchange they have non-white working class voters. Even if pockets of those voters are in places that are higher income and higher education overall, this is projecting them to shift toward Trump. So that's what I've noticed when going through this projection. There's always a lot of discussion about if Trump can make any kind of significant gains with black or Hispanic voters. It looks like in this model that might be the case. However, he actually looks like he might be losing support with his base. That's going to be the blue-collar white working class. There's no way to know what's actually going to happen. We're 6 months out. That's a ton of time. But that's what I've found in this data. Now you can take a look at all the other counties on here if you'd like. Allegheny has a shift toward Trump by 5. It's fascinating to see this level of detail. Of course, the problem is you might disagree with what they've projected. It wouldn't be any fun if we only took a look at projections we agreed with. It's always good to look at a variety of sources, especially one that has this much detail. And even in this one, it's basically a pure coin flip. If Trump just did a half a point better in Pennsylvania, then he would get exactly 270 and win this election to Biden's 268. It's fascinating stuff. We're going to keep following it. But in case you think this projection is just bias in favor of Biden, they did the same projection back in November. Here it is right here. They had Trump winning the Electoral College with 292 electoral votes. He still lost Nevada and Michigan, but he was able to flip Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. You can also get the same level of detail by hovering over any of the states or clicking on any of them to take a look at the individual counties. So in this, they had Trump narrowly winning. In the current one, they have Biden winning narrowly. I don't think there's necessarily a bias just because you have one side or the other winning. They have their own data and their own model. You could try to look into that and poke holes in it if you'd like, but that's it. I'm going to leave it there. So take a look at this projection, spend some time on here, go through the states, take a look at some counties, and let me know in the comments, what do you think about this current projection? Do you think this is reasonable, or do you think they have it all wrong? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to help support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.